Welcome back. This is going to be your video for the 29th and 30th of June 2020. So we're going to start by talking about the moon and astrology transits, then we'll get into the collective energies with the tarot, and then I'll have the pick a card at the end of the video with the timestamps in the description box down below, so check that out if you are so inclined. Today's moon is in Libra. We have a nice void moon from about 9 a.m. up until 6:45 p.m. EDT, so a nice long void moon, which is going to come in very handy before the moon moves into Scorpio tomorrow. Rather late this evening, because tomorrow we have two really interesting astrological aspects. So we have Mercury sextiling Uranus. So when Mercury, the god of communication, links up to Uranus, the god of rebellion, the uprisings, brilliance, it's kind of the misfit of the astrology. When those two are connecting, it can feel like these ideas are just coming up out of nowhere, you know? It can be like a whirlwind of insights, and all you really have to do is let it happen and just buckle up. We also have Jupiter conjunct Pluto, so there is going to be big changes with this. With Jupiter, Jupiter's the god of expansion. It's the god of expansion in every direction. You know, expansion can be good. It can be abundance, but it can also be an abundance of negative things. So it can be either a lot of blessings or a lot of trouble. With Pluto, I feel like this is going to be opening a door up so that we can have more access to those truths, especially with this Mercury conjunct Uranus. These things that are going on in the sky, I feel like are all going to be working together so that we can get to the root of some of our core issues. With the moon in Scorpio, I feel like this is going to be a good time for self-reckoning rather than trying to convince others of our ideas. I feel like once we get into that place, we might be slipping into dogma very easy. It can be very, because we feel so strongly about what we believe, it can be very challenging to share them with other people. We just still need some time to work out the fine details. So use this Libra void moon today to get grounded, to get still, to get a little bit prepared, you know, in your mind, in your heart, and in your body for whatever is coming through for you so that you can use it to the best of your ability, I guess. All right, that's it for the astrology. Let's take a look with the collective energies with the tarot. I'm gonna go from this right into the pick a card, so feel free to pause this video and just pick your card 1, 2, or 3 right now. Take a nice deep breath, and whatever number comes into your mind first, that is the one that you should be watching. Okay, gods and guides, let's hang out and get the word. What are the collective energies for the 29th and 30th of June 2020? Felt that one. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the World. Wow. Followed by the Knight of Who Are You Wands and the 10 of Cups. Wow. Followed by the Devil. So we're going to be chasing some happiness, guys. There's going to be some cycles that are going to be completing themselves very profoundly. You know, the World is kind of, with this deck, this is the Hush Tarot, and I really love the art. It's just gorgeous. With this card, it can be really talking about looking at, you know, there's a cycle of decay and rebirth within all of us. Particularly in this deck, this feels a lot like some things are crumbling, some things are falling through the cracks, but it's actually just so that it can support the roots of something new, something different. Okay, we have the 2 of Swords, we have the 8 of Pentacles, we have the 5 of Cups, we have the Page of Swords, and we have the 6 of Cups reversed. Okay, I'm seeing reconciliation here. I'm also seeing grief around, a past enterprise for some of us. This is going to be, I'm seeing a lot of pushing in one direction so that we can be feeling stable, secure, so that we can be understanding our preoccupations for some of this will be. Let's take a second to just see what else is coming through. Okay, so I feel like a lot of us too are grieving right now. I spent a lot of time talking to my compadres this weekend about how this is kind of playing out for a lot of us and how we're not always encouraged in our culture to grieve. You know, there isn't a lot of room for it, but we are in Cancer season, so we do need to be making space for that. And what I'm seeing that we're kind of grieving for a lot of us is that stability piece, and it is our work. You know, we may have been married to something, you know, to some sort of a career path, to some sort of monetization mentality where it's like every hobby has to be monetized in order for it to be valid, when we know that's not true, and we're at a bit of a crossroads. You know, we're going inwards to see why, and it's resulting in a lot of sadness for some of us because we're realizing, you know, this didn't actually make me happy. You know, it was in service of something other than myself. And I feel like today and tomorrow is going to be a day where we're just going to have to acknowledge that grief. We're going to have to let it come up. We're going to have to see, you know, like what's next isn't quite clear, but we just have to know that what was once our path is no longer necessarily going to be viable moving forward. And that's okay. The only danger I see here is like cutting ourselves off from our emotions, trying to be too cerebral about the whole thing. And, you know, like, it is good to understand and analyze our emotions, but it is today even better to just feel them and identify them in our bodies. Really don't fight that process. It's going to be painful probably for a lot of us. It is Scorpio moon. I mean, Scorpio moon is like unrelenting and very much a truth seeker. But at the end of grief, with the death of naivete, with the return to innocence, which is really what this is talking about. It's really talking about like when we let ourselves go through the process of like grieving what, you know, as we grow up, we lose our inner child in some ways. And it's a huge loss for all of us, not just like you personally, but everyone in your community, everyone in your life. And the loss of that inner child also loses the connection to what's really true for you and what really needs to be nourished for you to move forward. Great news though, because it's a crossroads where you can move back into, you know, working on something that's appropriate, you know, working on something that is actually going to be putting you in a place where you feel like you have everything in the world. Okay, so that's it for the collective energies. Be super gentle with yourselves. Scorpio moons are intense. They always are. If you can, find a way to like get your hands in the earth. That was one message I received before I started even filming this video, as I had a visualization of just like hands digging into the earth and like really covered in the mud and the gunk. And I talk a lot about Clarissa Pinkola Estes because she's one of my absolute favorite psychologists. But in her book, The Joyous Body, which is amazing, you should definitely check it out, she talks about how she doesn't know anyone who hasn't cried themselves into the grave, so to speak, you know, hasn't cried because things just feel so terrible, because they just want it to end. They want to know, all of us at some point. I don't know anyone in my life who hasn't come to a point of complete and total barren honesty where it's like things, you know, I need it to stop. I need it to end. And getting to that point of honesty with ourselves where we're in the bottom, the rock bottom with our bones. And this is the key part. Our bones, the part of ourselves that is the most true, our structures that keep us upright, that holds the rest of this meat suit in place, you know, and we're conversing with our bones, with the most true aspect of who we are, of our spirits. When we're conversing with the bones, that's when we can start to find ourselves again. So I just encourage you to not fight that process, you know. Okay, let's get that pick a card. It's a longer video today, guys, but thanks for hanging out with me. I love it. I love you. Okay, we've got card 1, we've got card 2, we've got card 3. Timestamps are in the description box, and this is going to be card number 1. Okay. So for you, card number 1, we have the 7 of Swords reversed. Okay. In this deck, this is the card of deception. This is the card of lies. This is the card of trying to get one up over someone. In the reversal, this is about forgiveness. There may have been a situation in the past where you were taken advantage of, where you were believing one thing, whether this is a story that culture was telling you, or a story that you were telling yourself, or something that you now have to atone for that you were telling someone else. You know, you were putting your needs above somebody else's. Maybe for some of us this will be. But today you're going to have the chance to like self-reckon and recognize where that comes from and get still enough to really forgive yourself, to really go through that process of like, okay, I can move through this. I'm not bound to this. I'm not bound to this story of, you know, why I'm right or why culture is right or why I have to try to get away with something and that's the only way to really move forward. Like you're gonna have the chance to kind of like release some of that baggage and just return to like, you know, the value of forgiveness can never be understated. You know, for me it's right up there with gratitude. You guys know how much I'm on you about writing your gratitudes. Okay, let's get a clarification for this 7 of Swords, please. Okay, we've got the Queen of Swords, and we've got the Moon, and we've got the Empress. Wow, this is some very like powerful femmes we've got here. Like Kali energy I'm getting in particular with this Moon. These are, again, getting like in that mud, you know, the primordial mud of our own shit. You just sit in it. And then you sit in it some more. Okay, that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. With the Queen of Swords, it is definitely feeling like it's going to be mental stimulation probably for you. And with the Empress, it is going to also be, with this deck, this is like the lessons of the birds and the bees. It's always, for me, related to sexuality. It's always related to our relationship to our sexuality, the relationship that we have to our self-expression in that regard, and sometimes the ways that other people have hurt us. This might also be like a fear of our own sexuality, like our fear of being like, and I want to be very clear about this before I say it, like in regards to like making sure that you are keeping others safe in your expression of your sexuality, but sometimes we're afraid that we're like perverse in a way, you know, like real sexual expression can feel too taboo. It can feel very, it makes us vulnerable in a way that can activate a lot of fears. And this doesn't have to just be in that particular realm, you know, it's just like, that's my tilt, if you will. But with the Moon, I do see like we need to be recognizing the fears that are causing us to try and get away with something. Okay. So like whatever this is, you know, whatever you know that you need forgiveness for, whether or not your ego or your pride or whatever is allowing you to acknowledge that, get behind those fears. And no matter how uncomfortable it is to sit with them, all you have to do is sit with them. Okay, that's it for you, card number 1. I hope this helps. I hope it gives you some clarity and a sense of direction. Gonna have some coffee and then we're gonna move on. Okay, card number 2, this is you. We have the Emperor reversed. Okay. Abusive power is going to be something that you're dealing with, I feel like. People marched. You know, we always kind of like, there are 2 drums, I feel like, that we all kind of march to. We march to the beat of our own drums if we're like weird enough that we know we have nothing to lose by doing so, but we also march to like a cosmic drum. We march to the drum of like what ancestors want, what our histories want, and oftentimes there's a 3rd drum of the culture, what that drum says and what it wants us to be doing. I feel like you are going to have the chance to see behind people's masks today, where you're going to be able to look at like, why do you do that? Why do you do that? What are you afraid of? How do I understand you? Can I reach you through understanding you? Do I march to the beat of my own drum? You know, those kind of questions. I do see like this card is just like, you know, look at the structures breaking. Everything is falling apart. It's about abuse of power, particularly in this deck. Ask yourself if you are being a minion. I hate that word in particular, but like ask yourself if you're being someone who is complicit in your own, in that abuse of power. Like, are you being taken advantage of, and are you being complicit in that process? You might be able to have some clarity around that. It might be revealed to you a little bit more clearly what that's talking about. Let's get some clarity around this Emperor. I feel like for like one or two of you, you might also be like seeing corvids, like crows, ravens, those kind of birds. And if you do, just like take a second, like hang out with them, you know? We have the Ace of Pentacles reversed, and we have the Nine of Swords reversed. Yeah, okay. So we've got, I get like a sense of empowerment coming through. Yeah, look at this. Seven of Pentacles. Doesn't she look just like, yo, you know? I feel like with this sort of like understanding the abuses of power, you're going to get like a surge of like, holy smokes, why have I been beating myself up about this particular situation for so long? Like, it actually didn't have anything to do with me for some of you. It's going to be like, I was like holding myself to this, I feel like there was like overthinking, anxiety, yes, but it's more than that. It's like, you were like trying to grasp really hard for something, and it was taking up a lot of mental space. You were maybe asking yourself, why has this opportunity like passed me by? Like, why can't I do it all? For some of you, that'll be, why can't I like both beat to the beat of my own drum and be a part of culture? Like, whatever that looks like for you, I don't know. But it's kind of cool because that anxiety piece is like, you're owning the fact that it's not yours, if that kind of makes sense. Like, you're owning the fact that like you have been taking on a lot of anxiety and overthinking and like stress just by trying to like fill this mold in some way. And it's like something inside you just snaps over the next 48 hours. It's like, not anymore, okay? I have my own ish to do, and I'm going to do it. And I love that for you. I think that's liberation in its finest form, and freedom from preoccupation, you know, like big time freedom. Just you know, reconnecting to like why we need to pare back sometimes, getting back to those bones again, talking about the bones. That's it for you, card number 2. This is going to be card number 3 now. Okay, we have the Ace of Cups reversed. Okay. So this card is kind of fun in this deck, okay? This is the Hush Tarot. So this is like when something dies. To me in this deck, this is like the death card, traditionally how we would think about it. When there is something that has died within us, it is also an opportunity for a new song to sing, okay? I'm kind of feeling like you're a little bit cut off from your emotions. That was the first thing I heard with this card. Baby teeth. Like in dream dictionaries, when you dream of like losing your teeth, it's a very disturbing dream to have, and like let's acknowledge that. But it's usually also talking about losing like your childhood sense of what was right or wrong, or your like childhood cosmology, or like your, I don't know, just kind of like the system that you believed. Because teeth are all about like wisdom. It's all about like you know, mastication. It's all about digestion. It's all about how we break things down into literally bite-sized pieces so that we can internalize it and take it into our bodies. And I'm feeling like for you, that process is halted. You know, you've lost your baby teeth, if that kind of makes sense. And like the new teeth haven't quite grown in, and you're just like paralyzed in this process of like, oh my God, my emotions are too much to touch, so I'm just not going to. Ever at all, and God forbid, you know, like just kind of yeah. Have a little faith in time, okay? Time takes time to do its thing. Let's clarify this. We've got the Six of Pentacles reversed. Let's get some more. Got another 6. We've got the 6 of Swords and the Hierophant both reversed, and the 3 of Cups reversed. Okay. Okay, so I feel like some people are trying to be really like generous with you right now. I feel like there's some people who are trying to like pour their generosity into you and like nourish you and nurture you and take care of you. I don't know why you're trying to turn your back on them necessarily. Like, it kind of feels like you're like, I have no interest in this at all. Maybe you've been looking at the people who are trying to like take care of you and been like, you're too weird, I could never be one of you, or like, you're a circus freak. It's like, I don't know, whatever. It's an unconventional kind of thing that's going on, and you need to understand that these people, they really do just want to like give you a break. Okay. Cutting off from your emotions, like accepting, it's like, it's a 2-part thing. Like, you might be pretty overdue for some pleasure and enjoyment in your life. But maybe there's been a lot of like, you know, walking away from so many things, or just kind of feeling that uncertainty thing where it's like, I would rather get away from something than work through it, can kind of be how this plays out. These people are like, I don't see them being necessarily like toxic or harmful or anything like that. I just see that they're so outside of the norm for you that it feels very like, you know, I don't like it. Invest in my words. I'm so sorry. Investing your emotions again can just be kind of like, oof, you know, I did that once before and it didn't work out so well for me. It's just like, you know, like accepting other people's generosity one way or the other. You know, let that happen, because really at the end of the day, if it is pure generosity and it's coming from a point of like expecting nothing in return, is that a bad thing? Is it a bad thing to have people take care of you? No. Let people take care of you. Okay. I'm not doing a last look today. That was it for you, card number 3. That's it for this video. I will see you guys sometime in July. I'm hoping to do some like tarot scopes for the first half of July. If that's something you would like, please let me know. If this video resonated, please give it a like, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.